Greetings, this is Flares. This is the second video in my series of going over every realm for shorter videos. We're going over the Caro realm right now, and as usual, we're going to start with the realm mechanics. So, this is Caro's realm mechanic, this right here. So, whenever you take damage, kill enemies, end a turn, whatever, you will gain Crimson Furnace. This is what Salvador interacts with. So, you click this to heal, or if you have 24 salve, they interact with it and use it to deal damage, generate shield, heal, etc. And this bar. Whenever this bar fills up, you get one embryo or one baby. You can either use this to feed to an awaker regularly, any of these three, and it will give them alienness and crit rate. Or if you have dyes, she can evolve this baby into a super baby if you posse, which will gain 1.5 times the effect of this baby card. So the mechanic's entire thing is these babies and devour. When you click on any Caro champion's exalt, it has a word devour. It has its regular effect and the devour effect. The devour effect happens only if you have a baby. If you have a baby in hand, you use your exalt, it eats the baby, and the devour effect procs. Some of them are good devour effects, some of them are bad. This realm has some of the strongest limited units in the game, but weaker than average standard units. Not as bad as Ultra though. So, in order to showcase how strong the limiteds in this realm are, we're going to use Gellet. I'm going to show you how powerful and why she belongs in S tier, because some players need a visual example. Let's proc the devour effect. So, let's just use this. Oh, first mob dead, 4,000 damage. Let's just play this card. I don't know. Oh, there's half his life. What's this? 3,000 bleed. A crit. I'm gonna use this. Oh, I don't even get to play all my cards. What was that? So yeah, that's how strong Gellet is. She just clears fast, unlike Tawil, which we need to play a million cards. Gellet is very easy to use. That's why she's an S tier. Now let's go over all of the Caro units. What enlightens did you get to? What they do, and what tier they are on the tier list. So let's take a quick glimpse at my tier list as usual. Let me pull up display capture. So this is the tier list. Caro is not recommended for new players to pull, just like Ultra Standard, because unlike Aqua or Blue, they have some trash units. They have 3 units D tier or below in Standard, which is base Hellet, Leigh, and Agrea. So I recommend not pulling Standard Caro as well. So now that you get a glimpse of that tier list, let me go back to game capture. So, going over units. This is my anemic Gellet because I don't like using her, but she's S tier. Everyone would agree she's S tier. She is either the strongest or second strongest unit in the game, depending on who you ask. She's tied with Tawil in that aspect. Tawil, on the other hand, is extremely flexible. She can fit into any comp you want. She does everything. She's extremely utility basis. But why Gellet is in contention for S tier despite not doing anything? She only does damage. And she heals. But she does a lot of damage. As you can see, she is one of the highest burst champions in the game, if not the highest. She is insanely strong. She does everything damage related. She does not generate a lot of shields. She does not generate a lot of anything but size damage and heals. This heals a lot endgame. So, regarding Enlightens, you want her E3, but she's usable at E0. She's one of the few champions where every Enlighten, every dupe you get, generates a lot of power and is very good. Whether it's E1, E2, E3, I recommend going to E3 or even Overexalt. She's also one of the strongest units if you want to wail on her. Why? Because unlike Tawil, her whale stats, which means every dupe beyond 3 gives her crit rate and damage amplification. These are the two best stats you can get for a plus E stat. She has double great damage stat, so that's why you can even wail on her and it'll be fine. Look at this. Endgame, 20% more damage. Yeah. So she's a very good S tier damage unit. Her con is that she's a Caro unit and she wants to play in Caro, and she needs supportive units like Dyes to pick up with her. So every one of her cards is good. You don't sell any of her cards. She's a great unit. She's S tier. Now for builds and wheels. What you generally want to use her as, let me pull up the, what else? Everyone uses one build for a Gellet. It's one build unlike other champions. You want April, you want her Sig Wheel, and you want Titan's Blade plus 12. So this is tons of damage. Every Gellet will have that comp usually if they're decent. Yeah, April, Sig Wheel, Goliath's Blade plus 12. So that's what you want to run on her. And she's fairly straightforward to play. You play her AoE, you play this at 4, it generates a card that will heal you based on your missing life, and you Exalt to reduce the cost of all your cards by 1. She's very simple to play. I don't want to go in-depth as I want to make the video short or focus on more complex Awakers. But she's S tier, and she's insanely easy to use, and she does tons of damage for no reason. So you also use her to farm affinity as well, because she's a very fast Awaker to play. Now let's go to the second unit, or the second S tier in this realm, Dyes. Dyes is also another limited unit. She will get a rerun and she'll be added to standard in a couple months. But she's an S tier support because of her Exalt. You want her E2. E2 is her breakpoint because it reduces her Exalt effect by additional 1 cost. E1 is also good. E3 is decent, but you can skip it. So you can want her E2, which means her base plus 2 dupes to get her full power. So the reason why is her Exalt, very strong. You don't need to devour her Exalt, because her devour effect is just granting Aliemus, which is good, but you want to save your babies for Gellet or some other unit, like Aigis. So, why you want her dupe 2 is her Exalt lets you choose any card in your hand from any other Awaker. Copy it twice, which means add 2 dupes, and reduce the copy of the dupes by 2. Which means if combined with her cards, generally you want to dupe her card or other units 2 costs, brings infinite potential. You choose this, for example, you gain 2 additional copies of this with 0 cost that gives 20 Aliemus, 9 strength each. Very good. Or she's paired with Blue Realm Caucus a lot, which you dupe his 2 costs. As I went over the Caucus video, you dupe her his 2 costs right here. Shattered Halberd, and 2 of them, 0 cost, generates counter damage Aliemus. So that's another reason why she's super strong at E2, because of her Exalt. Very good Exalt. Also, her Rouse is completely bonkers for Caro. Now the translation's pretty off. Like, you're gonna read this saying, what the fuck is a Scion of Purity? It will change every patch. So I'm going to call it a super baby. So as I demonstrated in the video, when your bar is filled, you get a fetus. Dyes transforms that fetus into a super baby, a more grown-up baby for your Awakers to eat. So it will give more Aliemus, and if you eat it for a Devour effect, it will make the Exalt stronger. So she's the only one that does this. So she also generates a lot of Embryo Fusion for this card, which means she will generate more babies for you by playing her cards. People are confused when they look at Dyes and say, where does she generate the babies from? It's this card, and in general, because she has a lot of stats, and her wheels is one of the best wheel in the game. If her wheel, let me go to her wheel to show what I'm talking about, because some people need a visual. This is her wheel. If this wheel was allowed to be used on every team in D-Tide, every comp would use this wheel. No questions asked. Hand size +2, and after the end of turn, you get a lot of key flare energy. That's the new translation. Old players will recognize this as S key. This is key flare now. So, her wheel, insanely good. Her champion, insanely good. So she's a must pull, and she's paired with Gellet. These two go hand in hand. You don't play one without the other. So, S tier support. E2. You don't sell any of her cards but her attack and defense, I guess. Now, let's go on to the next decent unit, which is Salvador. Salvador, personally speaking, I don't like his design. I don't like his gameplay style. But there are a lot of Salvador fans. He's B tier, which is very good. Remember, B tier on my tier list means above average, as I'm using tier list right, okay? C is average. He's above average. He's not A, and he's not meta-defining. He's very good. He's a very good staple. If you want to use him as a damage unit, you want him E2 for this. He will heal and do tons of damage with E2. Very long text. So if you're pulling for him, or if you want him, get him to E2 if you want him to play as a damage. Now, Salvador is unique as you don't play him with other Caro units usually. Normal Salvador comp is Salvador plus 3 Chaos units. Now, you might be asking, why? Why would I do that? Because he operates off of Crimson Furnace, which is the circle bar I showed at the very beginning of the video that heals you. He is the only Caro Awaker that interacts directly with the Furnace. And if you have a Caro unit with Chaos units, you build Furnace faster. That's the purpose of Chaos Caro mixing. So you want him with 3 Chaos units so he can have his Furnace build faster and ramp him up faster. If you play him with Caro units, you're not going to generate as much Furnace as you would want. So that's why he's played with 3 Chaos characters. Now, the comps can vary. A lot of people would suggest. I can talk about his recommended comp, which is all limited units, which new players won't have access to. But if you want an easy unit, which standard can have access to, you get 24, very good, which is on banner right now. 24 in Salvador, very good. You get Not for defense, and you get Karen to cycle through your deck faster. Now, in my Chaos video, I'll go into detail on what those units do. But if you're a new player and you have Salvador for some reason, get 24, Karen, Not. You can get that pretty easily. Run it with Salvador. If you don't have one of those units, slot in Ramona. Now, going over his cards. He generates a lot of shields. He does damage. He heals. Inflicts weakness. Basically, all of his cards interact with Furnace in some way. He's a very good B tier unit. He's above average. He's not A tier, and he's not game breaking like Gellet. Personally, I don't like him. He's a very boring. His gameplay is boring, etc. Now, on to the next limited standard unit. As you recall in my Awkward video, limited standard units means that they share a rate up banner in standard. So Serell shares her rate up with Salvador. Serell, however, has aged terribly. She's one of the worst aging limited units in the entire game besides Clem. Except for Clem is new and trash. Serell is old and trash. She just got power crept. On launch, she was decent. However, in the current state of the game, she has no real place because she does no damage as a damage unit. Why? Because R2 rules removed her, wanted relic with the new relic, so you can't really use her as an unlimited devour unit. And this. I'm going to mention this a lot in every video on the Realm Mechanics series. She gains temporary power. Temporary power late game might as well be 0. Unless it's Goliath. Most temporary power units do not generate enough temporary power for it to matter late game. Its scale is awful. It's temporary, only lasts a turn. You want permanent power. she does not generate enough permanent power. So that's already a mark against her. She does not heal enough. She does not do enough. Lose life to do damage. Everything about her kit has no place in the current meta and endgame. So that's why she's C tier for average. She's better than some other units. Great. If you want to use her, do it. But most standard units are going to outpace her in everything. So what Enlighten I recommended to her? 0. I do not recommend you use Serell unless you really want to or if you're cooking some comp. But right now, people are experimenting with Serell, and there are a couple of theory crafts on how you can play her. Because her entire mechanic is multi-hitting. She does not multi-hit well, but that's her mechanic. In a Serell awkward comp, she is usable. That's the only comp you can possibly play her, Serell Blue. But Arita does everything she does, but better. So again, she's average, but she's one of the worst limited units besides Clem. So, don't use her, basically. Now on to standard. Now let's go on to a decent standard units that you can pull in Caro. I do not recommend pulling this banner. I recommend pulling blue. As to why, go to my Aqua video and I'll explain why. Do not pull Caro standard. Please do not pull Caro standard. Now, if you have to pull, Uvos is a decent C-tier standard Caro unit. You're going to get him. Why? He gains permanent power. Look at his permanent strength. That's good. You want permanent strength. He has a special effect if your HP is below 25%. Very good. You can clear endgame hard mode with Uvos. There are some people in Discord that are Uvos mains. He can do all the content in the game just fine. However, there are units that does what he does, but better. But he's not unusable. He's completely usable. He's a very good unit. But he does get outpaced. Everything about him is decent. Nothing about him is bad. Nothing about him is great. So what Enlighten you want? He's a standard unit. So you're going to get him to E3 eventually. So you're going to get him up. If you plan on using him, you're going to get his over result, which is +4 right here. Because if he's a standard unit, you're going to get a lot of copies of any standard unit. So you don't need to worry about Enlightens. There. Now let's go to Feint. Feint, it's also like Solis. I'm anti-DR units because my philosophy differs from other players. Some may disagree. Some may agree. Unlike Ultrash, I'm open to this. There is a use for Def Res in Arc 2. Because she is one of the units that can generate the most def resistance in the game. Huge def resistance the higher this Exalt is. So if you plan to die a lot, plan to proc def resist a lot, she's a must-have in any Caro unit. She is used endgame. She's used in hard mode. She's used to clear all endgame content. She is great, but the reason why I place her in C tier, because I disagree with the concept of proccing def resist. My philosophy is endgame. If your comp is good, you don't need to die. She operates off of you basically dying. So that's my philosophy. But she's very good. People have used her endgame. Now for her ease, you want her as much as possible so she can generate more def res because that's her whole mechanic. The more enlightens you get, the more sigil gain you get. Very good. The more def res you get. So get her as high as possible if you're planning to use her, if you want to play a die comp. I will not recommend die comps personally, but if you want suggestions on how to make a Feint comp work, ask Monchi on Discord. He actually runs Feint at late endgame very well. He's a Feint supporter. He's a Tulu hater, Feint lover. So ask Monchi on Discord for tips on how to use Feint, as I will not give tips that are outside of my area of expertise, because as I said again, I am anti-def res comp. I am fair in my judgment though. She is used in endgame comp. She's good. I would never use her personally. Now, On to the trash Caro units that are universally seen as bad endgame. As anyone who has done endgame, they will agree that these 3 units are uber trash. Now let's go to the least trash units. Hellet. Base Hellet, unlike Gellet, which is her better form, is trash endgame. She can be played endgame hard mode if you over-invest in her, get her plus kill, get her 90. Because there are some Hellet lovers, like their waifu characters, because she is usable. However, she's very weak. Why? She is a strike unit. Strike endgame has very little place in endgame scaling. Endgame scaling relies on you doing millions of damage a turn. Strike will never do millions of turns. Like, all strike champions are weak due to this reason. Her scaling is also bad. Unlike other damage units, say from blue, say in Chaos, she does not generate much power on her own. Like, look at this. Where in her kit does she gain power? She relies on other units to generate the power for her. Now let's look at her better form, Gellet. She does a shit ton of damage and generates power. Hellet does not scale at all. She needs someone else to help her scale endgame. This, garbage, garbage, garbage. Everything, garbage. Dispel weakness and non-permanent power reduction, garbage. Strike cards, garbage. That's why she's bad. But she's in D tier, below average. You can use her if you really like her. Just know you can do more damage with anyone else. Now, next unit. The F tiers. These are trash units, meaning that they are the worst units you can possibly play in Arc 1 or Arc 2 rules, of which there are 2. There's Leigh. Trash. Utter trash unit. Why? Temporary power. It strikes again. You lose 10% of your current life for 22% Embio fusion and 13 temp power. That is garbage. You are literally killing yourself for no gain. 22%? Let's go to Thighs, S tier. This, you gain 40% Embio fusion. It doesn't kill you. You gain Key Flare times 2 of your Key Flare regen. It also applies Bone, Weak, or gains 40% more Embio fusion. What? Again, power crept hard. This, 22%. You lose 10% of your life. And as you rank it up, you still lose 10% of your life. You are killing yourself for no power and 24% Embio fusion. You're killing yourself, dude. This, piercing damage, low damage. Gain 2 shield for every 2 life loss. You're going to die. This, 6 growls, useless. Useless, useless, useless. 10% dispel vulnerable. You're not going to get vulnerable that often. Shit heals. Caucus heals more than this. This is the only permanent power, but it's tied to her X-Hull. She's just bad all around. Just slot in Thighs. Just slot in any other unit. Slot in any other unit before you slot in her. And look at her stats. Low, low, low. Low, low, low stats. You're going to get no health, no attack, no defense by putting her on your team. She's a brick in your team. Look at Thighs. Medium stats. Level 60. Look at this. Thighs. 50, double her stats, basically. Look at Gellet. Double. Gellet has more defense because she's a support. Stats. Shit. Cards. Shit. Numbers. Shit. Everything about her is shit. Okay. And her lore is shit. Would you want a crazy girl as part of your team? Look at this. Her lore. She wants Uvos to beat her up and remove all of her teeth. I still have plenty of teeth. Take them all. Anyone. take them all. If you play her, all of her voice lines are her begging you to beat her within an inch of her life, remove her teeth, cut off her arms, and beat her. That's her entire gimmick in the lore. Would you want this freak on your team? I think not. Next, Agrea. Now, Agrea is a caveat. She is trash in the current state of the game, but she has potential. She has very unique mechanics that she cannot use. She is one of the only source of permanent alert scaling. What is alert? 99% of players won't be able to tell you what alert is. Why? She is the only unit that gives permanent alert. Alva gives temporary alert. What alert does is it's the counterpoint to power. No other unit has alert. She does. Eventually, this will come into play once you get more and more units. But right now, no units interact with alert. Likewise, she is the only poison unit in Caro. There are no other poison units in Caro, so she can't capitalize on poison. You have to mix her with blue, which is the best poison realm. So, current state of the game, she's lonely as fuck. Every other unit you can has a partner that they work well with in Caro and other realms. Gellet, she works well with Dies. Uvos works well with anyone. He's a general unit. Whereas Agrea, for example, she has these poisons. She has alert. She has shields. There are no poison units in Caro. This might as well be zero. She has no partner because this game is about team comps. It's very hard to build a poison team comp in Caro in the current state of the game. Now, in the future, she might be meta once she gets a good unit to support what she does. Right now, no Caro units interact with her well. So you are never going to use her in the current state of the game because she does not mix well with any other Caro unit in the current state of the game. One day, you're going to go back to this video when Agrea is meta and be like, holy shit, Flares was right. A new Caro poison unit is out, and Agrea is super good. Now, she's useless. Eventually, she will be good, so keep an eye on her in a year or two, once we get more Caro units. Now, let's go to the welfare unit. Aigis is the best welfare unit in the game. There are 3 welfare units for the 3 realms. She's the best one. Because she's usable immediately, unlike Arita, because of her Exalt. She is the only Awaker in the game that has Petrify, that works on bosses. She's the only one in the game that can stun all the enemies on the map, which gives you a free turn of taking no damage or ignoring a mechanic. No other unit in the game can stun the enemy. She's the only one that can stun once per battle. That's why she's the best welfare unit in the game. Stunning is strong. As you know, if you play other deck builders, super strong. That's her unique gimmick and why she's the best welfare unit in the game. And she generates Vuln, applies Vuln on everything she does. She's a great welfare unit. And eventually, unlike all the other welfare units, you're going to have her as a permanent staple in your Caro teams once you get her up. Again, I'm just going to go over this one more time. Welfare units are these 3. Every month, you can buy a dupe. I recommend buying an Aigis and an Arita dupe every month. Erica, you can ignore. After 1.5 years, she will probably be an A or S tier Caro unit for you. But again, she's very good, very usable in Caro because of her Exalt. Nothing wrong with her. She's strictly in B tier at the start or C tier because you're going to have her E0 when you're starting out. You're going to have no dupes of her. 0. And it goes up slow. You only get +1 every month. But eventually she'll be S tier or A tier in Caro. So I recommend investing in her, building her up, because eventually late game you'll use her. And that sort of concludes my overview of all of Caro. But let's go over wheels. You want, for Gellet, you want her Sig wheel and Titan's Blade plus 12 as I go over again. You want dies, Sig wheel, and another wheel. Everyone else, you're not going to use. And if you do use them, they're carrying the Costco wheels in my guide. Go to my guide, look up the Costco tab. Run Costco all through Arc 1. You'll clear all of Arc 1 just fine. Again, Caro as a realm, do not pull if you're a new player. Their limiteds are very strong. Their standards are very weak. But Caro it was one of the strongest realms if you have Gellet and dies. So, thanks you all for watching, and I'm going to make my next video now.